are the players and how can we assist them? In some cases, to be able to register a property, apart from the 5 months, 6 months if you get to register a property, we found out that if only we could buy gas, as little as that, for the generator in that office, the cost, the process of getting them to buy gas will take them about a week, a month, or two. So we buy that gas because we have done a financial analysis between what we are losing by way of interest on our facilities and what we will lose by buying those other things and assisting these stakeholders in the value chain. And this minimum more of this is what have led to them to increase their capacity to be able to do currently 300 housing units per annum, and by this year we'll be hitting 500 housing units per annum, and then by next 2 years we are looking at 1,000, 2,000, and going forward because we have been able to understand who are the actual players, what do they need to improve their reduce the transaction cost and the transaction time. Thank you so much.
Yes, I may have misunderstood the format for this. I actually prepared a presentation that speaks to the issue of trust. Can I spend about 10 minutes of that?
to just give us your success story when it comes to that system that's been described by Mr. Hunting.
A lot of the like significant level of challenges you face, I think, in any business, but I think in real estate and particularly in Nigeria, it's difficult. Rewarding us because there's nothing as amazing. And you should have seen young couples get to their first flat and then having children moving into their house, and then kind of careers are now rising, incomes are increasing, and they move into kind of a semi-detached. And then the cycle sometimes returns back when there's like an empty nest syndrome. One of the ways, going back to your question about ensuring trust and accountability between the homeowner, the investor, and the home builder, we pride ourselves up in Shelter in 3 words: trust, integrity, and credibility. And how I think we've been able to display that is consistency. It's ensuring that we are really putting clients at the center of what we do. So this means ensuring delivery, ensuring quality, looking at the house to say, would we, as an urban shelter staff, would I live here? Would I move my family here? Our homes, other amenities, social amenities available to us. And so we approach it very much kind of on that situation. Earlier, I think CBN touched the fact that housing is a basic human right, and we really believe in that as well. So the burden of responsibility, providing somebody shelter, you really do everything you can. And then selfishly, it makes a really good business case to get somebody's house or property finished because they come back to you. They tell their friends, Robert, Sam, Reverend, my goodness, there's a company that's delivered relatively within town, and and the quality is what I expected, and therefore we'll come back to them. I'm really happy, really humbled to say that the majority of our clients are repeat customers. They buy consistently. I'm always amazed when people meet me very much in forums like this and they say, we bought from your project in Katempe. Katempe was built 1998. I was a speck in the eye in urban shelters, ecosystem at that time. But it gives me a really good sense of, okay, we must be doing something right. The challenge, therefore, once you're doing something right, is to consistently do it right. So that's why I come back to it. It's boring, but it's consistency. Other thing. If you come to me, I really don't think I can continue with this investment. I should be able to give you a refund back, and we do. I think that's natural. I don't think I can continue with this investment. That's also okay. This doesn't fit my income bracket. What can you do? Okay, we can offer a solution that might work with what your pattern is like. So whilst it's more stressful for us, I think as a company, we really like to treat individuals as individuals, because all of us sitting here, our dreams, aspirations of where we want to live is different, or where we want to take up commercial space for offices, for markets, for shops and entrepreneurship is different. And so it's important we don't have a very cookie cutter approach. And I think clients really appreciate that one-on-one kind of customer care. So we try and push that. We lead by example as well. I think it's something really important. So if we're going to do what we say, we actually do what we're going to say. We don't go to advertise giant billboards and then there's really nothing in the project site. Again, it's bad for business, but the last example he showed, I can't tell you how incredibly. Have you had experiences that way? Billboards everywhere, no projects? If you notice that, again, I don't know if this is something, perhaps my personality, apparently leadership kind of personality lead down. There aren't many urban shelter billboards, but we are active on 18 projects across Nigeria, 9, 10 alone in Abuja, 3 in Lagos, 2 in Kaduna, 2 in Majestic. I've been trying to get into Enugu State. And by the way, my senior has been trying to get me into Enugu State. It just hasn't happened. So that's really interesting. And I love what he said. In a nutshell, I think it's consistency. It's really leading by example. It's making sure that you do what you say. And as simple as that seems, it's actually very difficult to do in most businesses, let alone real estate. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You said it all. I would say more about integrity because this can be the answer to the last of their social system. And so I'd like to invite Mr. Pugh, gentlemen, give us a figure of what's your system and how that is helping to move things forward. market space, and he's commercial director at Lafarge, working in the real life marketplace and also doing innovations when it comes to housing. So just like you to share with us some success and some insights which we can learn from.
Thank you very much, Moke. It's nice to be in this event again. Great job to the conveners for keeping this going. I think for us, from as a member of the OSIM group, we are actually the leading producer of innovative products and solutions, for the beauty industry. We have a cement product, we have concrete, and now we have the mortar also. I think one of the things which is very important for us is the quality of products that you use in the building and real estate. So, which is one focus area for us, ensuring we continue to provide consistent quality product. But the other important point is the application of these products. So, and this is one big area for us in terms of our experience in the marketplace, in terms of how people use the product, how they apply, what they use it for. And it's an area where we are focused to actually see how we can improve the knowledge gap in the industry. A lot of the building you see, there are a lot of people, the unskilled labor who are involved in this, the masons, the bricklayers, and a lot of people on the site. I think one area that needs huge focus in Nigeria is actually skilling up these people. A lot of you would say, I know a lot of people used to say, oh, I prefer to bring a bricklayer from across the border, Togo. They do better job. And why not in Nigeria? Because we're probably not ensuring there's a proper institution to train these people. So for us, because we don't want you to just buy the products, and again, you don't get the full value from the development, we actually ensure we're giving enough adequate training on the sites, especially. So we have invested in not just salesmen to sell the products, but actually people who are technical professionals, engineers, surveyors, going around to sites and training this unskilled labor on how to apply the products. One of the things we observe is people use some products wrongly. And again, if you look at it, it brings some costs, unnecessary costs into the entire project. And this is one area when you look at, if you actually try to manage that, it also helps every cover that the developer, the builder would want to consider. So we have a huge team of technical assistants who are actually going around the sites, training people, and making sure they're using the products, applying it correctly, for the right purpose in the right quantities. And this for us, we provide at no cost, because our pride is to see that you're not just buying product from us, but you actually use it rightly and to get the most value out of it. So this is one thing we've noticed in the industry and we've invested a lot in. Um, Recently, we've also started looking at other technology, because one other concern also in the industry is the time it takes to complete the building. I mean, I had the other conversation earlier to talking about time, and today OSIM as a group, because we invest a lot in technology, research and development, we've started looking at 3D printing for housing. And there's already been some success in this in Africa, where some schools have been built in a very short time, few 72 hours, the framework of a school building is up already. And this also is a very important thing. I think also for us is the fact that when I look at the marketplace today, I think sometimes we're kind of using, let me take, for example, cement products, right? And the grade of cement. You wonder why people will use a 42.5 grade cement, for example, for masonry job, for plastering. To some extent, that's a bit of a waste. And these are things we try to correct in the industry, because all of that kind of adds to the cost and makes it difficult to finish up projects on time. So these are areas that Lafarge Africa PLC we've kind of focused on, and we're doing very well, and I think people are finding real value. Also in terms of helping the cost, I mean, the whole I build and what we talked about earlier, we've in the past also offered, free services in terms of BOQs, ensuring people actually put the right things in there and they can follow through. So offering some supervision services at sites for free is part of what we've actually done. And for us, this is all about building capacity in the industry. And I think this is one area for us in Lafarge Africa that we're very, very proud supported the industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bengaluru. So you talked about artisan skills, upskilling of applicators, product applicators, and 3D printing already successful in Africa, 72 hours. So we're looking forward to that coming to Nigeria. You talked about also understanding the products and using them correctly. So on that note, I'd like to invite Artisan Odia, who has experience in building maybe the lowest cost houses in Nigeria, to share with us how you successfully delivered. And after that, Odia will go online to Dr. Rustam, who will give us a financial perspective and will close with his contribution.
Right. So, good afternoon, everybody. Great. My name is Samodia again. I'm the CEO of the Millard Fuller Foundation, a faith-driven non-profit organization that collaborates, that promotes the collaboration of innovative partnerships with individuals and organizations in a bid to provide on a sustainable basis affordable housing to people in need. So from the onset, we've always been focused on housing delivery to the lowest cadres of the society. We are coming from a rather a rural background. You know, our background is really rural housing. So whereas most developers, like Sadia there, you know, are coming from the top and are trying to go down to meet people at the lower level. We've come from the bottom area and are beginning to provide housing from rural areas now to suburban areas. You know, so that's where we're doing most of our construction now. So our focus really has been on providing housing to those people. And one of the things that we've realized that it doesn't matter how qualitative the housing is, if it's out of reach to people, then it's a waste of time. I mean, it's quality is very important, but if 80% or 90% of the population can't afford it, then, you know, for us, you know, that's sort it. You know, increasing inclusiveness is key for us. So that's where we're focused on really. And for 4 years in Nigeria, our projects have been named the most affordable housing projects in the whole country. In 2019, and since 2019, the Center for Affordable Housing Finance, that's headed by Kisia Rust, who was here earlier, has named our buildings, our one-bedroom apartments at about $8,000 as the most cost-effective, the cheapest in the entire continent of Africa. So we're very proud of that, very proud indeed. And despite the fact that our pricing is so low, you know, we find that the vast majority of people are still not able to tap in, even with financing available, you know. And the choices that are available to us are, you know, it's either we look for cheaper, I mean, we don't even have off-take financing available at the moment in Nigeria to the sort of degree that we would like to see it, you know. But what we've tried to do is to bring down prices even lower. So, you know, there's a lot of talk now about the sub $10,000 house, which is where we're sort of focused on at the moment. But then we've also begun research on producing a house even cheaper. We've just built one recently where we're trying to get a 1 million naira house built. And that was really the dream for that really came from the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, because their most popular mortgage product, and it's not a mortgage product, it's a financing product, is the 1 million naira home renovation loan that many of you would have heard about. There are more people going for that than any other product in Federal Mortgage Bank at the moment. And we thought to ourselves that, look, okay, so this is essentially a home renovation loan. But what if you could even build a core house, a basic core house that could be increased as time went on with that amount? And so we have a research ongoing now, but we have actually built a building for 1 million naira, which is less than $2,500. Basically, a studio apartment that's expandable to 2 bedrooms and then eventually to 4 bedrooms. And it's available at our site in Massacre. In fact, we have a site visit on Wednesday. If you are interested in looking at our projects and coming to see what we've done, we'd like to invite you all to come to Massacre on Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. There will be a bus waiting outside to take people there. And just meet me afterwards and put your name down, or you can go to the AG Homes exhibition booth and put your name down there. But that's essentially what we've been doing. And so we see that there's still a lot of work to do. The mortgage sector really requires urgent development and support to be able to play its proper role. There are 3 major problems in the world today, you know: poverty, urbanization, and climate change, you know. And we believe that the climate smart house is a solution to all of those problems. You know, that with a climate smart house like the one that Modulus Tech is providing in Pakistan, you know, is a solution to all of those three problems. Firstly, you know, poverty, because having a basic home unit, you know, is the first step on the ladder to exiting poverty, really, for most families. Just having that asset on which you can loan and, you know, borrow on is the first step. Secondly, urbanization. We have sprawling suburban communities now all over Nigeria, Africa, the whole of the developing world, you know. People, the urbanization is happening at such an alarming rate, government is simply not able to keep up. And so slums are developing everywhere, you know. People's ability to be able to buy a home, to come into the formalized market, you know, is the first step to addressing this urbanization problem that we have. And also climate change, you know, being able to reduce, you know, the carbon footprint, you know, on the earth is also very important for us. So we're really pushing this together with our partners, Rail UK, who are also partners, incidentally, to Modulus Tech there. And they've provided a lot of encouragement for us. So if you were to ask, how are we able to provide housing at such a low rate? It's really not rocket science. You know, I think everybody could do it. All it takes is commitment to be able to provide housing at that level. I mean, first of all, well, how we've been able to do it is that we've tended to build our houses where land was cheap. So, well, many people aren't very happy with that, but most of our sites tend to be on the outskirts of cities rather than in the city, for the simple reason that land is much more affordable there. And we also build at scale. So rather than build just 10 or 20 or 30 houses, typically one single project would be 250 to 500 units
us in the room. Can you hear us in the room well?
Yes, we can.
Hello? I hope that the room can hear us well. I see us muted.
Okay.
If just the room can confirm that we're online, then happy to intervene.
Please go ahead. We can hear you. Can he hear us?
So I hope the room can hear us. Okay, great, thanks. So good day to all of you. I was made aware that the room can hear us. So thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Ahmed Rostom. I'm a financial sector lead for the World Bank in Nigeria. A pleasure to be with all of you. I'll try, while the connection is a bit stable, to initially thank the organizers for the event and just share some perspectives with you about our work on the housing space in Nigeria, which is currently a priority for us. And I'm happy to also be in that particular session, although we're planned to be in the earlier one. But it's always good to hear the perspectives of the private sector, because they're actually a critical part to push the housing agenda in Nigeria forward. Just to recap, I think I'm the last speaker in that session, but I think we heard it all right, which is the recipe of what needs to be done to push this agenda forward in Nigeria. We have a huge unmet demand, which is a great opportunity. We need to ensure that the capacity of the developers and of the supply side is up to that the potential for this unmet demand. But on the other side, I guess we heard a bit also on several perspectives relevant to the upstream reforms that are required to unlock and unleash the potential for the housing sector in Nigeria. And that's particularly when it comes to land management, land administration, and happy also to hear some perspectives on some forthcoming reduction, hopefully, in the construction cost. Because the way the World Bank, we are trying to engage in this, engaging with the stakeholders across various levels, across policy, partnering with the Central Bank, Ministry of Works and Housing, and Ministry of Finance, closely on the policy perspectives to address these shortcomings or these challenges when it comes to the upstream policy reforms. And a good way forward is that there is a draft for a national housing strategy that's starting to see the light. We were part of that discussion 2 months back in May, where we're seeing a lot of these key constraints are being not only recognized, identified, but also addressed constructively. And we look forward to seeing this strategy come out forward to address several of the concerns that we've heard during the morning session, and also this session now, and subsequently the next remaining part of the day and tomorrow. One other point is that we are trying to leverage the international experience. I'm happy that my good friend Maya Hochschmidt, Professor Maya, has shared perspectives, and as we all know, she's renounced in her thought leadership in Wharton School, and also the experience from Colombia. We're also looking at the experience of India and Egypt, and I'm happy that we're having some speakers in your event on that. But it's the idea of dealing with this in a comprehensive approach. We need to look at the supply side and the demand side intertwined. Supply side, I've mentioned it a minute ago, is the upstream land management, land administration, and easing access to arable land, and reducing the cost of construction along with the infrastructure. Now, the second element is ensuring on the demand side what is the exact affordability gap, and how to have a well-targeted, sustainable, and scalable solution to address this scalability and sustainability challenge. Given that there is a huge deficit in housing and a huge demand, we believe that catering for that excess demand would require careful attention when it comes to aligning resources, as we heard from the Honorable Minister from Colombia. So aligning resources to ensure affordability, and to ensure that we're targeting the right segments to access the right offering. So with that thought in mind, we just want to ensure for those of directed questions about the World Bank that we are engaged, and we are currently providing technical assistance at the policy level, and also engage with the Federal Mortgage Bank and the Family Homes Fund and Nigeria mortgage refinance companies, particularly NMRC and FHF, were partners that are established under an earlier World Bank project, and we look forward to working with them more and also engage with the Federal Mortgage Bank as we move forward to a comprehensive solution to the housing challenge in Nigeria. I thank you so much for the opportunity, and we look forward to working with all of you, and a privilege to be with you in this event. Thank you so much. Back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rustam. So he
Okay, thank you. My name is Benga Babade. I work with Federal Mortgage Bank. My question goes to Sadia. I just want to know how well you have done in providing affordable houses, because even one of your colleagues said there that you build only high-end houses. You know, you agree with me that affordability, it's a major issue that we have in the country. So I just want to know how well you are doing in that area. That's one. Then, and the second question is to Leo. Yes, you mentioned Mexico, India. Out of the countries you have done some work, or you are still doing some work. But in sub-Saharan Africa, especially West Africa, I want to know your footprint that you have here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benga. Nadia, would you go first?
Hello, Mr. Benga, thank you very much for that question. There's a brochure that all of us received when we came in here. There's an advert in there by Federal Mortgage Bank Nigeria. They have 3 pictures that look like they were taken out of Google. And there's one particular picture that is of Red Bricks Estate. That's an urban shelter estate, sir. It's an affordable homes estate, sir. And Mr. Sam, I've known him maybe a few years, so he doesn't know me urban shelter as long as he thinks. Our bedrock is affordable homes. So much so that we have developed a signature brick, burnt red bricks, that also acts as a reinforcement material. It allows us to cut down cost almost 30%, I think a bit more. It used to be more, but because of how inflation has been rising now with diesel and so on and so forth in the production process, it's now more like 30% when it used to be 50. So that's cut down significantly on the construction cost of affordable homes, and we've passed on those reductions to clients. As it is now in Abuja, our most affordable homes, depending on which currency, which exchange rate you use, is actually about $10,000, and it's in Kiami. It has an access road, TAD, that goes right up to the estate. We don't compromise on quality, is what we don't do. Like I've said during my discussion, I won't build a house that I cannot live in. It's not possible. When we give you something, unless you choose for it not to be, it's going to be turnkey. You're going to be able to get to your work within 20 minutes. You're going to be able to drop your children within 15 minutes. You're going to be able to go to the market within 15 minutes. Though that's how we kind of identify where to build, how to build. And if we're slightly out of those margins, then urban shelter has to think to itself, we need to then bring in, by the way, for instance, for the Kubwa plot, the first is, we're now in phase 6 of an over 8,000 unit estate in that area. We're in phase 6. So when we first started it, the highway was still that 1 lane. I don't know if anybody else recalls being in Abuja at that time, before the 10-lane highway came up. And we started those at about 2.5. Now, you're right, the flat. So like I said, for us, affordability is a cornerstone, at least 50% in that space. We build much like Mr. Sam mentioned, which is in for 10 houses or 1,000 homes. It's something you have to weigh up. us actually to do that. It's so much more difficult to build with reason within nationality, safety, a home of 5-10 million than it is to build for a home of 500. And we thrive on challenge. You know, our continues looking. Also mentioned about how they're researching into $1,000 homes. Again, it's not a space that I think on, but I want us to use words like collaboration as opposed to competition. I think like we've mentioned providing affordability through diversity in areas. We're trying to do that in urban areas. The Abuja is an expensive cities for the rich people. We still need us are just getting married year one. Some of us are coming through professionals initially, and all we need is a studio. So it's a space we very much engage in, active.
Thank you so much.
Capacity. We have a regional office in Nairobi, Africa market. Spent about 2 years in conversations with various organizations, close to signing an agreement to use our technology to manage some of your programs. Our entry to the market. Why? Because when someone goes on the platform, they need to make sure that someone responds. And in order to do that, it requires a certain capacity to address. So as an example, Federal Mortgage Bank is putting money into the market. That means contractors, laborers, supply chain are all going to come to the platform because what do they want? They want Federal Mortgage Bank's money. That allows for the rest of the market to benefit from that. And creating that capacity first before going to the consumer is essential to success. Because if I'm a consumer and I download an app and I go and request something and nobody responds, I never come back to the app again. So our conversations have begun again with many of the institutions, and we expect an entry into the market sometime Q4, more vigorous entry into the market Q4 for 2023.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Engineer Juby. I'm going to ask quite brief questions. One will be going to Urban Shelter, one to Architect, and probably one to Lafarge. All right, so I'm going to start from here. To Urban Shelter, we are trying to create a new Africa. We're trying to change the narrative of Africa. We're trying to control that narrative. You're doing quite amazing work in the private space. But what I will ask is, what are you doing to mentor this corporate culture that ensures that all of Africa begins to take that look? You know, you mentioned collaboration. What are you doing in that direction to, you know, spread this across board? For Architect, you mentioned low-cost housing. You said a couple of things on how you plan to achieve all of that, but how do you control quality whilst you do all of this? And for Lafarge, you've talked about innovation. One of the things we're seeing is you mentioned 3D printers, right? How flexible is that? Especially in Nigeria, we have customers who have high taste. So how flexible is that to the needs of Nigerians? I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer. If Sunday is not away, and ask the audience some questions.
Okay, so how do we control quality? We invest quite a bit in training. So one of the things that the Millet Fuller Foundation does is it has a training program that's supported by organizations like GIZ. We were also a partner of the Empower program of the federal government, and we spent quite a bit of time and resources training our artisans, to work better. We also have a very qualified set of professionals in the project management office who are well trained to ensure that quality is not compromised. I mean, we're all learning, and however good we are, there's still more to learn, but we essentially that's how we control quality.
If I may throw some light on that, one of the points I picked on was you do your construction to a certain level, then you allow the consumer, the customer, to complete it. Now, when the consumer is completing that process, are you also monitoring what they do, or it is left to them to do whatever they want to do?
Yeah, we can't control that. Thankfully, what they do is internal, so one doesn't see it from the outside. But as far as the structural components are concerned, those are sound. Generally speaking, their own inputs would be cosmetic, plastering, painting, sealing. It doesn't affect the structure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, on 3D technology and flexibility.
Yeah, thank you. I think, just listening to the conversations yesterday, more importantly, things I hear people talk about is affordability, cost. And also, you just talked about completion, timing also, and I think for us, those are the two big things that we're focusing on with the 3D print. And so in terms of speed to complete projects, that's one thing. Because when you talk about mass housing affordability, a lot of times you see these projects, they start, they don't get finished. Then also how long it takes. And in the course of that, inflation, pricing, cost is all going up. So I think very importantly, we need to look at ways of building very fast. And that's one of the things that the 3D printer brings. Helps you to build very fast, to complete the projects very fast. So you don't have to go into variations again on cost and all of that. And that's the focus. The second one also is to the affordability. Again, if you look at with a 3D print, you really don't need so many people on the site. With a few people, you can actually get the project up. Again, it reduces some other cost areas if you look at, get into that details. So trying to kind of merge it with flexibility, so I think flexibility in terms of giving you premium or building high, yes, you might not be able to do all that premium that you probably want to achieve. You can't probably say you want to put up a mansion, high-rise with 3D print. Gradually it's getting there. I think so far we're talking about G+2 thereabout that's been done with 3D print. But again, you can't go the full scale. So I think the focus is it being able to deliver the big tickets on cost and speed. And that's really what that would do for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Jumake. I was your question, engineer. One, you want Urban Shelter to teach all of Africa how to, and then how we collaborate. Was that it? Sorry. I can hear you fine. Yes. It sounded like I should mentor all of Africa. Okay, that's fine. We're good. Okay. Yep.
Okay, so you're a major stakeholder when it comes to the private sector in real estate in Abuja, right? Now, it has been mentioned time without number that we have a wide housing deficit in Nigeria and all of Africa. Now, what we are looking at is this. You mentioned collaboration. Now, collaboration in the sense that we know Urban Shelter cannot build all of Africa by itself, right? But you have a culture that fosters trust. So how are you spreading this culture to other people, since we believe in collaboration?
So again, you want me to teach trust across Africa?
Well, are you doing anything? Are you doing
Did
anything
anybody
to
else
it?
pick up on that?
But are you doing anything, right, to ensure that other people in the built-up sector?
You said and
Yeah.
show. You want me to be a regulatory body?
But you could try. You could try. I believe the private sector is one of the powerhouses of the country, right? The government can do so much, but the private sector, we're in charge of innovation and all of that. So if we can come up with ideas or methods in which we can spread this culture through other people, I think we could have housing of a better standard across board, even though it is not urban shelter, but you could inspire other people to do a whole lot better, more actively.
I wanted to just say thank you. Thank you very much for seeing us in that light. I think I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to take this back to my colleagues. Honestly, they'll be very happy to hear that. I think, and I keep saying it sounds like a broken record, but you do need to set an example and to not compromise on integrity, on your quality, and your ethics. I think it's really important. One of our taglines is setting the pace. I don't mind that I'm seeing a lot of urban shelter-like designs in other estates. Again, we're clearly doing the right thing, so we need to set that space, whether it's how we handle staff, whether it's how we handle stakeholder management with people like yourselves that might be investors, or people that want to collaborate with us in terms of construction or selling homes or even JVs. That's also really important. So you have to set that parameters of trust. It means that when we sign agreements, we fulfill those agreements. Now, when other people are seeing you do that, I think that also inspires you, and that's a word you've used, and I'll borrow that. It's very inspirational. Each of us here, I think, are inspiring figures in some way, shape, or form. You may be a father, a husband, a brother. There are teams behind you that are also looking at engineer thinking, gosh, when I grow up, I want to be an engineer just like you. Sometimes it's not something specific you have done. It's simply the issue that as a person, for us, it's identity of a company to really handle transactions with ethics, with trust, with integrity. And then at the base of it, it makes so much financial sense, because when you appreciate that credibility and integrity, you will come back to buy more property. So unlike the lady that was sending money and there was no house there, you send the money, the house is there. You send the money, another house is there. Not just that, by the time you come to find your property, there's a capital appreciation, capital gains on the property of 20, 30, 40, 50%. And that gets people really excited. So I don't have one direct answer. I'm sorry. I'm actually very grateful for the comment. Thank you so much. But I think we have to all collectively work to see how we can do better. I understand what you mean. There's a lot of happening in the market that unfortunately really damages the image of real estate. And that's why it's being looked as some kind of a rich business when it's not. It's really is coming from that premise of providing shelter. It's how do you address affordability? How do you, meet these needs of whether it's 7 million deficit or 22? We actually don't know because we haven't done a proper study. So it's X. We just know there is a deficit that needs to be met. So sorry, engineer, but yes, each of us collectively are responsible to do better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think on that note, final question, please, and then please. There's a gentleman in the corner.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just curious. Just one question. Yeah. So, is any of the developers or the non-profit looking at initiatives into reviving dead cities or areas? So, if you look at the old cities, like the ones in the southwest, like Ibadan or Ogun State, there are some buildings that are basically just 2 seconds away from crashing down, and you can revitalize that for cheaper price than a new project. So, is any player looking at that?
I think your question, and we have noticed the session tomorrow that is going to respond to that question, sir. So if you are here tomorrow, you may be able to get answer to that question. So on that note, I'll just summarize what we heard from our panelists. A big topic on trust between homeowner, home builder, and the investors. Collaboration has come strong. This has been preached for years, especially in this forum. Integrity is key. The bringing innovation as a solution, that's digitalization, 3D printing, and digital marketplace like iBuild, catering to the demand side and being flexible to what customers want. So the financial challenges, expandable homes, building cheaper. We've heard from the panelists on training the applicators and upskilling artisans. We've also heard that we must keep the top three challenges in mind, which is poverty, urbanization, and climate change, and having solutions that address them while thinking sustainability and scalability and targeting the right segments. So we can't, thank you so much for sharing your stories and allowing us to use your case studies this afternoon. Thank you very much to all our panelists. Thank you, everyone.
Please, a round of applause for them. And the second session for today was learning from experience, building what hasn't worked. You have to look at what has worked to know what could work in the future. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a round of applause for them as they take their seats. We are really far behind time. I want to appeal to you, please. We are supposed to be going for a lunch now, but we cannot do that now because we have one more session. And I am appealing that this will be the fastest session. Like I said, we are far behind time. We're supposed to be out of here by 5. So please help me tell your neighbor. Just on to the person sitting next to you. Tell that person, please do not move from your seat. Tell that person in your local dialect. Please do not move from your seat. Speak your language to that person. If you don't understand the language, ask for explanation. Please give us the next 1 hour, and we will be out of this place. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I will be inviting the moderator of this session, no other but the CEO of Octopi Holding, Jide Odusolu, as he invites the lead speaker and the speakers for this third session for today. Please, a round of applause for him, the CEO of Octopi Holding, Jide Odusolu.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's been a long day, but this particular session has been quite interesting. So, as the MC said, please be patient with us. It's my pleasure to invite Kesia Ross, is the Executive Director and Founder, Center for Affordable Housing Finance in Africa. Please go ahead to their part on the stage. Kesia is going to be our lead speaker this afternoon, and I'll advise you to get your phones ready to take pictures of very important information to share with you. Whenever Kesia says, I always listen hard, because that allows us pointers to share. That helps us all. The other speaker is going to be, he's already spoken to us earlier on. If you were here for Jonathan Marathon, shared the Colombian experience, he's also going to be part of this particular session. This guy got Kesia again. Thank you. So he's going to be joining us online, I'm sure. Mr. Emmanuel Akinomi, MD CEO, Think Power Africa Limited. Okay. Olivia Caldwell Nielsen, I think she's going to be joining online. What's she here? Olivia Caldwell Nielsen, I think she's going to be joining online. The technical please confirm. And then Mr. Adeshomoye Adeyeki, Chairman Representative Global Crown Limited, aka former CBN, aka our brain trust when it comes to policy. How are you, Mr. Adeshomoye? Okay, now we will be here earlier on, and he's just going to join this panel to tell us how they do it in Pakistan. Nabil Siddiqui, CEO and co-founder, Modulus Tech Pakistan. Long time. Now let's stay in the room. Okay, this is going to be sharing my secretary. Of course, we have our international advocate on housing, who is Nigerian but spends all his time across the ocean. Proliferity is international housing finance expert with a passion for housing in Africa, especially Nigeria. So he's going to be joining the panel to share what works. And then lastly, I'm going to be having Abdel Hamid, Chairman, Mortgage Finance Fund, Egypt. Is Abdel here? Abdel Hamid is in the room. Okay, and then
I have to. I think you have. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I'll just confirm that Olivia will be joining us online. So after the lead speaker's presentation, we'll follow that. And then lastly, I've got Kingsley Mungo, Acting Managing Director and CFO, Shelter Africa. See you here. Okay, so on that note, ladies and gentlemen, strap your belts and get ready. Yes, sir. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's so nice to be here with you. Thank you so much for the invitation, and great thanks to Festus and his team for such wonderful hospitality. I think for all of us, that I really felt it personally, so thank you so much. It's very nice to be here. I have a presentation which I've given to the gentleman in the back. Perhaps you can put it up. There we are. Good. So we're talking today about quite a broad topic. Is this how to run this? Great. We're talking about quite a broad topic today, about lessons from other jurisdictions, about how to address housing finance challenges. And we had a wonderful presentation, a number of presentations earlier today that provided a whole lot of ideas from Professor Mario's presentation, which spans the globe and options that can be set there. So I think very interesting experiences in Pakistan and then experiences in Colombia and then a case study we just heard. So it's really good coverage. I want to take it a little bit into a particular angle and talk about risk and the risk that we're addressing and how that chokes us all up and raises all of the other issues that we're addressing. I'm speaking to you today from the Center for Affordable Housing Finance in Africa, but also the African Union for Housing Finance, which I thought I would take a brief moment to introduce, because we have so many Nigerian members, and our chairman is Mr. Bihinde Ogundimu, who's from NRC, and we're very happy to be with the AUHF also here today. And that's important because I think a theme that's going to come out in my presentation today, but also which I think we just heard in the last section, is about the practical activities of practitioners. And in some ways, that policy can be shaped by the activities of the private sector and how the private sector engages, demonstrates to the policy sector about what is possible. There we go. Okay. So much we already know. If we want to stimulate investment into affordable housing, if we want to make affordable housing work, we need to stimulate investment into affordable housing. That's something that CAF spends a lot of time working on and thinking about different ways in which we bring capital in. And we've set this out on other occasions before, that we need obviously an enabling environment. And we've been talking about that, and I think that Nigeria this week is shuddering a little bit about the state of the enabling environment and the recent decision by the Monetary Policy Committee with interest rates and the impact that that's going to have. So, but we need to build that environment, and there have been some good conversations and presentations about that. We really need to focus on the local and to recognize local activity of local practitioners, possibly national practitioners that operating at the local level and all the way down to street level. But there are particular issues there to engage with the capacity of municipalities at the local level as well as communities and so on to pull together the breadth of specific opportunities and address the specific constraints, which are often about place, about where housing is located. For all of that, of course, we need patience, developmental capital that's going to recognize, and I think that recognize the opportunity and recognize that in housing, the opportunity is going to take some time to be realized. It takes a long time to deliver houses. And I think Family Homes Fund has really been arguing that for that, Family has been arguing a strong role for government to support the housing delivery process, but also for capital to come in and recognize the long-term objectives. But none of this is possible if we don't trust it's actually going to work. And we're not going to trust it's actually going to work if we don't have evidence of it having either worked before or that the problems quantified and addressed them. And that's where the role of data comes in. And I'd really like to emphasize that in everything that we're talking about. It's so wonderful about coming to a forum like this is that the diversity of experiences. Now that we're in this post-Zoom era, I want everything recorded. Do you feel that way too? Like I've forgotten how to just listen to something that's live. I want the recordings because I've learned so much from everything that I've heard and I want to share it with you. And that information is so critical. And we need to get to the depth of that information so that we can share and grow further. So take this, part of it, there we are. Our current problem statement, immediate this week, is of course the interest rate and the impact that that's going to have both on access to capital and then how that translates into access to interest finance and construction finance. It's going to have a big impact. But the reason that the Monetary Policy Committee did this was because of the inflation rate, which itself is having an impact on affordability. And both of these are putting a whole lot of pressure. We can't really change that right now. That is the state of the economy. And that is the way in which economies actually around the world are the issues that they're grappling with. So in that context, as the macroeconomic environment is not particularly favorable, well, what do we do then? Because we still have to come to work every day, we still have to build houses every day. And there it becomes this issue of how do we make our operations much more efficient. So thinking about that, what we've heard today are problems and key issues that are focused related to, there we go, there's one, land. And the difficult struggles of accessing land affordably, of making sure that land is unencumbered, that it can be used for development purposes, that the access to land doesn't delay the delivery process. We've heard problems related to construction process and to the difficulty for developers to access the capital that they need to be able to deliver at scale. We've heard about where the bar on quality is, and then in some cases to address the need to improve quality, because what has been delivered, something that Femi raised this morning, that a significant proportion of existing stock has a real challenge from a housing quality perspective. We talked about housing adequacy also this morning, and all of the challenges that relate to housing construction. And then finally, in terms of the uptake challenge and access to finance to support uptake, whether that is for ownership or for rental, the availability of mortgage finance, the availability of capital for mortgage financiers to be able to enter into the market. All of these things together, all of these problems together, well, they relate to issues of uncertainty, about not really knowing whether a piece of land is encumbered or not being able to trust the title deed. There was a whole fascinating discussion earlier about trust. It relates as well about municipality is going to approve a development on time, or how long the delays will be, and what will the impact be on the finance and so on. And then lastly, all of this coming together, it's all about risk, and risk is very expensive. And so as the interest rates are rising and as inflation is growing, how are we going to deal with that? It's something we can control ourselves, but we want to manage the risk. And we manage the risk by dealing by being with businesses, but by managing the efficiency of our processes, by engaging directly and specifically with each of the service providers and players along the value chain that we need to engage with, and holding them to account for the goals and the benchmarks. But if we don't have benchmarks, how are we supposed to hold anyone to account for anything? So we need to start collecting that information and sharing it so we understand what the norm is. At the moment, the norm is almost like a woe is me, but we need more detail than that. We need to be able to quantify that. So looking further and thinking about, well, how have we dealt with this? This is an area that you heard, I think some of you would have heard me speak about before, real focus on data. And data, well, the data in the environment already as it exists in its high level form, because it creates a level of market interest. And then you have and express that market interest, then you start to invest, and that creates data. And then when you invest, if you carry on that market activity, and there's more data that's being collected there, and it will develop there. Then there's market performance. Well, how was that experience that we just had? How long did it take to actually build your development? What were the terms around which you were able to access construction financing? From how many pockets did you take the money you needed in order to deliver? And then finally, that gives you market confidence, and you carry on. And once you've got that as the market, in fact, actually, what you can see all over is that the public sector follows, because the public sector also needs to operate on the basis of trust, is anxious about risk, has scarce resources that they can't apply everywhere, and so they need to make choices. And so they need to do that in ways where they think that the money from the public sector side is going to have the biggest impact. So that cycle becomes something very important, and it's something I think that the members of the NRDCMP, what's that, the National Real Estate Data Collection Management Program, a grouping of housing sector practitioners that have come together in Nigeria to promote making data available. And the NMRC is working quite closely with this, and also with their housing market information. So that is quite exciting, that there's a possibility of capturing all of the activity that's already happening. There is precedent. So I was asked to talk about precedent in other places in the world. This is land information, and there are two examples. The first one I heard of is the one on the far right, Land Victoria in New South Wales. And this was a long time ago when I first heard what they were doing. Before all of this big data was spoken, it was literally like 20 years ago that I first heard about it. My children were very small then. And what they were doing was taking an old map and putting all of that, all of the land parcels and all of the ways in which they were framed, all of the information about every single land parcel onto a computer, so that anyone who wanted to engage with that piece of land could go onto a computer and see what are the rights that are associated with that, what's the zoning, what are the long-term planning expectations of the municipal government or the provincial or the national state government, what are the applications that have gone onto that piece of land, what are the other encumbrances, and they can see that all transparently. And that's evolved dramatically over the last, I think it's 20 years actually. And the ability to access that information is a way in which now the state can even imagine how it's going to influence the market by what information it puts down there, because it suddenly makes opportunities available. Another example is in Rwanda, where they're doing the same kind of thing, where they're putting all of this information, they aggregate it in the Rwandan website, where they can show broadly what does the market look like within the Rwandan land market. And what still needs to happen, I think, in much more detail, enable public access to land parcel information in detail. Because that would help the planning process, it would help the pricing of land in land transactions. It would create certainty about what existed before. Many of these things do exist in a higher income housing markets. We have market information. But in the low income market, often when we're dealing with state land, that's a much more opaque set of negotiations that we're having. So that level of transparency. The next one relates to the construction process and a real need to recognize the activity that's happening. So housing starts and housing completion. And there are two examples here, and they're microscopic, but those presentations will be sent out and they'll be links. The first one on the left here is actually in beta mode right now. We haven't launched it yet. But this is a challenge to Redux because in Nairobi, what we've done is we've looked around and collected every single pamphlet, looked at every website we could, and collected information about all the developments. And in the course of that, we found 18,000 units in the Nairobi metropolitan area. We then put them all on a map. And you can cover on the map over, it's hard to see, but you can cover, this is a map, image of Nairobi here. And you can cover over the pie, with the size of which is the relative size of that project, and get key information about that. The whole collection is a large-scale pie there on the right. That's one of the cases. And there you can also see, so what are the big projects, what are the small projects, and where are they moving in and out of the map and get details. Over time, the intention is to connect that information to the developer's website so that it acts as a marketing mechanism, but it starts to give you a sense of the whole Nairobi metropolitan area that you can choose by a neighborhood, Athi River, for example, and so on. And that we did just like literally on our desks. It was a desktop exercise. Now, Redan has access to that information from all of the developers who are members. And to begin to put that together and then map it so you can see the volume of activity. Over time, you can start to track, well, how long is this project sitting stalled? And why is it stalled? What's going on in that context? And then we also, by making this transparent, leave it to the market to use that information to drive further to challenge directly. Okay, on the right is the work that we've been doing for years in South Africa. And there we use the deeds registry data, which in principle could be available. Very difficult to negotiate it in South Africa, it's commercialized and buy it. But again, what we're doing there is monitoring property price transactions to get a sense of what neighborhoods in the city are hot, what are cool, where are the affordable areas, where is mortgage lending taking place, all of that. That information, we have the technology to do that, and we just need to invest in making that happen. Financial sector data is critical. And within Nigeria, there are so many players that hold so much data. And to collaborate, to bring that all together in a way that we can analyze what the performance of the full book. So on the left is an example of that's the Tanzania Mortgage Refinance Company, so a sister of the NMRC in Tanzania. And they publish quarterly the mortgage market update, where they give a sense of what the Tanzanian mortgage market look like. They do it on paper, which is great, much better than not doing it at all. But it would also be really very useful to then put it onto a platform where you can see trends over time and you can monitor it. On the right is some work that we did within the South African market, where we took the entire mortgage book in South Africa and segmented it between the conventional book and the affordable or developmental book. And looking at those two, and there's a long methodology behind that that I'll have to explain to you at some point to show you how we did it. But we could track NPLs by market segment. And then we could do it, we could track NPLs by vintage. So we could see in these two graphs here, on the right, the conventional market loans, on the left, the affordable loans, and that high line was 2009 vintage. So loans that were issued in 2009. to where you can put it, on the whole mortgage or on a particular part, so that you can be more efficient. Almost finished. When we look at the macro, the whole picture of the market itself, what we've just been doing with the Canadian National Bureau of Statistics is we're building a data pipeline so that all of the housing relevant data that exists within the National Bureau of Statistics, we're channeling into something that we call with them a data explorer. It's going to be on the KNBS website, and it addresses data that fits into, you can see those colors are the same as my colors of the value chain. So those are the value chain segments with data relating to land, infrastructure, construction, offtake, home improvements, and then sustainable human settlements. And that will be available on the KBS website. And then of course there's HockeyNet. Professor Maria spoke to us earlier about work and her ability to present that, aside from years and years of experience, is really based on the data that she's able to collect from countries all over the globe that provide data around what their housing finance markets look like. And when that information is available, it's being and when it's documented,
Can you see my presentation? I'm going to like so, but you can when
Progress.
so I think we all know what rent just the
Um, so yes, definitely. Because we're working with a new kind of technology, trading becomes more, and that's something that we realized very early on that in order for this to be scalable, it has to be something that everyone can very easily understand, and also it needs to be quality control. So when it comes to manufacturing, factory control is more technology that's very easy to actually DIY. It's designed as that all components started to construct the system. That's one way of doing it. Can't go wrong there. Yeah, I don't think I actually don't need a lot. Um, so it takes one day to set up the entire infrastructure, and then paint and the tiling and the finishes. So it's a flat pack house. All comes together.
Hello? Okay. Um, I have some staggering statistics to show about the Canadian system. Personally, I don't believe there is any reason why some things can be sorted out in Canada and cannot be sorted out here. Especially if we are not talking about rocket science issues. If it is about manufacturing of aircraft like Bombardier, I will step aside. When it comes to normal soft issues like financial services, like housing development, I don't know why things are so difficult here, not because of the same giant that is destroying every fabric of the country and it extends to housing development. Canada has a population of 38.1 million. Than a country that has 200 million people. Why is it difficult to put strong institutions in place? I just challenged the CPN just now in my previous. Billion Canadian dollars. I won't give you the figure in Naira because we have 1,000,001 exchange rate in Nigeria. So I don't have to be tracking my. You can pick your calculator and multiply by any exchange rate you want, whether it's official or parallel, on parallel or lopsided, whichever exchange rate you want to use to multiply 1.7 billion. That is the profit that an institution of government like FMBN made in another jurisdiction. Where human beings like us live. I was there for over 20 years. So you know that it's only white people that can make things happen. We need to promote private sector investment also. You see a lot of houses in Nigeria, no one is living there apart from rodents. Okay? Meanwhile, if we redefine the social policy of housing in Nigeria, that can change situations. In Nigeria, it's a deceptive policy. Every Nigerian must have his own house. Is that possible? Somebody is making 30,000 naira a month and spending 15,000 for transportation out of the 30,000, and you are deducting his salary every month. That one day is going to build his house. The policy, the social policy of housing in Canada is that every Canadian must live under a decent shelter. Whether you are destitute, whether you are unemployed, whether you are rich or poor, you must live in a decent shelter. So what it means is that if you can afford to buy a home, buy one. You must be able to also rent. Affordable rent is also part of the policy. An affordable rent to own. You rent for a period of time, and in future, if part of your rent is commuted to rent to future deposit, and you become a house owner. Another issue that is making things not happening here is what I consider as a silo program of development in the housing sector. in Canada is a community house. That's why I launched the policy setting up FHA in Nigeria, Federal Housing Authority. The only thing they don't have is that some of these complementary facilities are not there. You go to a typical housing program or project in Canada, before you start digging the ground for foundation, all the roads leading to the site are patched. Water facilities are provided. Fiber optics technology. Not that if somebody wants to make a certain is doing round for the next 10 minutes. There will be communication facility, there will be security, everything is already done. Meanwhile, you have not even started digging the foundation. Then, not that alone, they will rally around support. That is the job of CMAC, equivalent of Federal Mortgage Bank. They call all kinds of partners. The Catholic people, the public institutions, people that will consult malls, people that consult schools, primary schools, and so on. Everything they'll be ready to move to site, and government will cover those infrastructure taxes. Yeah. So until we can remove some obstacles in Nigeria, for instance, until you can rescue FMPM from its parents, there are sometimes you have to rescue children from their parents to allow them make progress in life. Until you rescue FMPM from their parent Federal Ministry of Works and allow them to stand as an autonomous, professionally managed commercial entity, we are just blowing grammar. How many federal governments or whatever personalities are here today? They are just talking to ourselves. Until you do that, it may not work. So there are other issues because of time doesn't permit. I would like to stop at this point, but we can make it happen in Nigeria if we can do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Moderator. First of all, let me appreciate this program. Yeah, I mean, International Housing Finance Program. This opportunity is also an opportunity for me to be here to join our other colleagues for the African International Housing Show. Thank you for the invitation. Our discussion is on effective housing finance, and I want to say that it's very appropriate at this time. There are policies that we have, like you said, that has been initiated very recently, not too long, and I will not compare Nigeria with Canada. Has structure and institution that have been there for long. Yes, I'm also going to make there are issues and things we also share together with India as well as with Pakistan and India. For us to consider different jurisdictions, and there is no one good model that we should follow. And we must prepare to gain successes in different ways in order to make Nigeria think out of the box in order to be working for different partnerships and prior to look back 10 years back there was no partnership between families and developers. And the guy just think out of the box. It's called Lekki, and he came up the project. And he was able to do quite a number of buildings in area where it has always been either food, family food, even when there are areas where the families were actually in conflict. And the them of 40, 60, he was able to finance, gave some families, and sold some. We need to think through that is also developing to look the other side of the equation. His own development, infrastructure upgrade can take place and houses. Now, coming to the partnership here, and going to be a catalyst project. In this particular project, which is the idea is to bring in another line of secondary which have struggled with over a decade because we have short deposit to finance a long-term asset. So you need a real plan, and that's what we have done to manage the challenge. Have that sorted out. The other arm of it is on the mortgage guarantee, which we incorporated put it in the body. And I'm happy that my colleague, even after we left, my colleague has been teaching us. There are a number of things we needed to collaborate. You know, towards the end of COVID, there are a lot of things that so things are moving. This time future will be able to put on the mortgage guarantee company app. But the most important thing is the framework for the mortgage and the structure of the institution is not we want to move all upward so that the government structure can be such that it can attract international support. In the mortgage guarantee,